All right, I think Ms. Pragya is facing some technical issues, but she's going to be here from her laptop. So I'm just going to quickly introduce her. So this is the second last session for the day, which is psychologically hacked. So we have Ms. Pragya Lodha with us, who's a clinical psychologist from Mumbai. She'll be talking about the implication of the internet on the mental health users, mental health of the end users. Just to give you a quick introduction about Pragya, she's a clinical psychologist and research associate at D. Souza Foundation. She has served as assistant faculty for postgraduate psychology at Maniben Nanavati Women's College, SNDT University in Mumbai. She presently is a guest lecturer at SIES College of Arts, Commerce and Science. She is the program director at the Minds Foundation, Mumbai. She is the honorary associate editor for the Indian Journal of Mental Health. She has over 100 national and international publications. Pragya also serves as the program director for the mental health vertical at One Future Collective. Pragya is also the trustee and core team member for Global Society of Digital Psychology, Mumbai, and a core team member at the Alzheimer and Related Disorder Society of India, the Mumbai chapter. Pragya also serves as an advisory council at Witness Change. She serves as a mentor to the Tavleen Foundation and is also a state mental health council member for the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Pragya, we feel extremely privileged to have you on board, and just over to you.
Thank you, Brinda. Just quickly, I hope my audio is better now.
It's a lot better.
Yeah? Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Brinda, Hita. Yes, Brinda?
Pragya, could you, I'll request you switch off your video so that your audio is more clear. It was at that point of time. So.
All right. I'm extremely sorry. I don't know why the internet isn't, because you all can hear me. I think that's maybe for now. So as Brinda introduced you, that I will be speaking about internet use, how internet affects the mental health, and what can we do better. As far as I understand, as a clinical psychologist, I believe I would like to focus a little bit more on not just mental health implications, but I think what can we do things better living in a digital world. Most of you as attendees are youngsters over here, probably millennials or borderline millennials, if I would say. And the Internet of Things broadly, or just the Internet simply, is a very integral part of our contemporary lives. A lot of us are probably also falling in the bracket of how the literature now calls as the I generation. And it is a world that we cannot imagine where we do not have digital devices or digital technology or the internet. So like I said, the internet is a very, very integral part of our lives today. And it's no more luxury. It's no more just another almost magical thing that connects people from one world to another or one country to another. But it's an absolute dire need that we all use on a daily basis so that we can smoothly carry out our diurnal chores. The internet is now, especially during the pandemic of COVID-19, is a much more reliable, a much more dependent resource than anything else for all of us. Because it has not just simply connected us with one another, with our loved ones, with our friends, or has probably made shopping more easy, or not just made music or books available online, but in day-to-day lives in a much more connected manner. We all as students have probably taken classes online, as teachers or facilitators or professionals have taught online, have continued to do our work online. And basically, in a very big way, we've shifted a lot of actually become a medium, not just for edutainment or infotainment or entertainment, but it's actually something that we are sort of living our lives through. We're performing our work while has actually become a medium of our lives. It was very interesting. I was also, as part of my work, I also write research papers, and I research, and I was writing something on how online dating has changed during pandemic, and I was surprised to know that how so many features of the dating apps have also been updated to make socializing and connecting with people far more feasible. Similarly, a lot of other online based and mobile phone or smartphone based online activities feel more real. And for the last 8 months, we all have been living a lot more virtually than seeing one another face to face. So it's very important to understand that is internet all good or is it not? The question is not new, and I'm sure you all have at some point discussed internet as a medium that we use, not just for, like I said, entertainment, but also for our work and a lot more important activities. We're paying our bills online, we're shopping online, we are watching movies online, new movies are being released online. A lot of business has shifted online. Schools and colleges have shifted online. Organizations, NGOs, trusts, daycares have shifted online. So a lot of our life coming online has also told us, and in fact, I was reading that almost there has been an increase of 80% high in the amount of internet-based activities during the 8 months at a roughly level on the entire global level. If we see, like across all countries in the globe, there has been about an 80% rise in the use of internet, right from all sorts of activities to the important ones as well. Now, talking a little bit more about that, how do we really decide that how much time is good and how much time is not good? Oftentimes, people have complained, especially parents have complained, that a lot of their children are spending a lot more time online. They are playing games online, they are attending school online, they're doing homework online, and then they're also watching movies online, they're also connecting with their friends online. A lot of youngsters have sort of started feeling this social media fatigue as well as screen fatigue during the time of COVID, especially, where a lot of people have been willingly or non-willingly shifted to the virtual medium through the internet to work and connect with people, and also spend a lot of time on the internet. Research wise, if you look at literature, there are hundreds and hundreds of papers talking about the major implications, some of the major implications that these researchers speak of in terms of how internet affects our mental health as people, is that it causes a varying anywhere beginning from sad mood to anxious mood to actually psychological distress when we speak of in terms of stress, depression, anxiety, social isolation, feelings of loneliness, anger outbursts, emotional exhaustion, inability to convey emotions to one another, lack of sleep or disturbed sleep, change in eating patterns, unhealthy eating patterns develop. And these all also then start affecting the individual in their interpersonal relationships, where it starts creating conflicts and strain amongst loved ones, families, spouses, and also starts affecting the way how people perform at work. So their productivity levels go down. They feel a lot more unsatisfied or dissatisfied with how they are performing at work. They feel they their productivity level and the time with which they could do work has now gone down. That means their proficiency levels go down. They feel a lot of physical symptoms as well, where eyes develop strain, itchiness, or dryness. There is headache, there is neck pain, there is posture imbalance, there is pain in the spine, there is cold shoulder, and a lot more other problems that adults complain of. When we generally look at the younger children, we also speak of very commonly video game addiction. We very commonly speak of children engaging in violent games and activities that usually are considered inappropriate or harmful for children. There is earlier risk of exposure to pornography for younger children, which becomes a problem for the parents and sometimes for the children themselves. There is lack of responsible information which is available online, because of which children and the young also get astray in terms of what is right, what is not right, what to do, when to do, and how much to do. There hasn't been any defined time that, if one individual spends X number of hours, only then that classifies for addiction. When we look at DSM, that is the manual that is used for diagnosing mental disorders or psychiatric disorders in the field of psychiatry and psychology, there is a term called as internet addiction which exists. However, the explanation is more that internet addiction is like one of the other addictions that is there for alcohol or cigarettes or any sort of drugs, where the individual continues to use the internet hour after hour, where getting off the internet becomes difficult. And at the cost of using internet, the individual also starts losing interest in their day-to-day activities, starts losing interest in the hobbies that they earlier liked. They start withdrawing from interpersonal relationships. That means they don't spend time with family, they don't spend time with friends, their mental health levels also start getting affected, where there are times when children or even youngsters spend day after another without having a bath, without maintaining any sort of basic personal hygiene. But they're so addicted to the internet for various purposes that it becomes difficult for them to get off it, no matter how much distress it creates. Similar to substance use or substance addiction, even in internet addiction, the moment the digital device is taken away, or the moment the individual is, taken away from the source of internet use, they start showing withdrawal symptoms, which look like anxiety, stress, irritability, anger outbursts, temper tantrums. Physiologically, they start sweating, they start breathing more, their heartbeat increases, there are palpitations. One may sometimes, in severe cases, also get aggressive, and in severe cases, it also leads to suicidalities, neurotic breakdowns, and psychotic breakdowns as well. So, internet addiction is a phenomenon which still hasn't been very clearly identified, and researchers debate about how to define clearly what constitutes addiction. There are no strict number of hours, like I said, that okay, if you spend more than 8 hours, you are addicted to the internet. But we look at addiction more behaviorally by the aspects that I just told you, that how does an individual usually have non-stop and consecutive engagement with the internet, and how the other aspects of life of the individual start getting affected. What is important to note is that internet is something that is an integral part of our lives, and we're not always just on social media or surfing things which aren't helpful to us, but we do perform a lot many productive and helpful activities online as well. Though online has its own repercussions which are negative in nature, it does serve to make life more comfortable and convenient as well. And considering both the aspects of internet, it's important to now understand that we are not in a time where one can get away with the digital technology, or one can do away with internet entirely. And though initially, when internet use has always been spoken about with a negative with a negative light as well, and there have been several deliberations, right from how it affects mental health to how it affects physical health, how it also impacts the brain development in younger children and adolescents as well. There is a realization that one cannot entirely do away with internet. So then what do we do? Initially, the concept started with talking about digital detox, that how we need to detox ourselves by getting time away from the digital technology and the internet as well. However, I believe when I say now, it's not just the pandemic, but for the times to follow as well, that digital technology and internet is going to continue to remain an important and integral part of our lives. It's going to stay, it's going to be here, it's not going to go, because it's made life comfortable, convenient, faster, more productive, and also has brought in a lot of ease and connectedness in a world of today. Though we do talk about internet, the purpose of internet rather was first to connect people, but we speak of how it's sort of also disconnected a lot more people. And keeping this in mind, we will now focus on that how we can still continue to have internet as part of our daily usage, but also bring in balance, so that we're able to not just practice digital detox, but we're also able to move towards digital well-being and building healthy digital habits. Some of the points for maintaining digital well-being and digital habits, I'm going to now sort of put them across to you, so that you can probably mull over them and also imbibe them in your day-to-day practice to see how helpful they are. One of the first things that we all need to do is to monitor our digital use. In times, especially like the pandemic, where a lot of us are still preferring to go online and work online, it's important that we keep a check as to how much are we maintaining our time on our screens. A lot of our phones give us the option of checking our screen time. They give us screen time reports, and it's a healthy practice to make sure that we are in check of it and we monitor our screen time. Another aspect which is also interesting, which can be practiced, is that we all usually tend to use multiple digital devices. In most cases, it is the smartphone and a laptop, or a smartphone and a PC. So make sure that to cut your digital time, you're also reducing and distributing the activities that you do, which are restricted to the digital devices, which means that, say, suppose you make sure that whatever work has to be done will be done only using the laptop, and your smartphone can be used for socially connecting or emotionally connecting with your loved ones, families, friends, catching up, or simply just little bit of entertainment if you would like to. This way, you can monitor the time that you spend on each of the devices and make sure that you don't end up using your smartphone for more than a few activities that you would like to designate. So, when you restrict the number of activities, you also help to restrict and reduce the number of hours and, in general, the time that you spend on your smartphone. Another very important thing that we all need to become aware of is that most youngsters often answer that me time is usually their social media time, or spending time with their smartphone, or connecting to somebody on text or WhatsApp or some other app. And this is something where we need to bring in practice, that where we are constantly pushed to using the digital platforms and screens, we need to have me time, which is without social media and without the digital screens as well. Sorry. So spending me time, and that me time could be absolutely maybe you doing coloring, painting, spending time with family, or just simply sitting with a cup of tea or coffee, or maybe at your terrace or your balcony, or simply lying down to rest yourself, has to be your me time. So it's very important to inculcate and bring back the me time that we had long time before without our digital devices and smartphones, where you are actually disconnecting with your smartphone and your screen time. An interesting thing that you can do with your friends or your family members is to have a digital fasting challenge. Digital fasting is one of the, I wouldn't say new, but it is a relatively nascent concept that has also come in, which is similar to digital detox, which talks about that digital fasting can be done from a couple of few hours or few minutes also to across days or couple of weeks as well, where you go on a digital fast of not using your smartphone, or basically actually not using the internet in any form, whether it's on your smartphone, your palm tops, your laptops, your iPads, or any other digital device that supports the use of internet. So challenge your friends with the digital fasting and see that how long can you go without it, so that you're able to ingrain this habit of disconnecting digitally for maintaining not just your digital well-being but your overall health as well. Another thing that you can do with your friends or family is to also have a digital pledge. One of the common practices that people have in social gatherings and friend circles is to go in cafes and restaurants and keep the phone in between and not touching the phone, and whoever touches the phone first pays the bill for the rest of the circle. Now, I know that slowly and steadily with unlock, probably people are walking and they're stepping out, meeting people, going to cafes, but it's still not happening in a very big way and may not happen in a very big way in the coming few months as well. You could still use that time to pledge together as a family or with your friend circles to ensure that you are quitting your digital devices and the use of screens for some particular time, and you all follow it for those particular hours. So decide what are mutually the best hours for you all as a family or a friend circle to pledge for digital free hours and practice that together as a group. Usually when you do this with more members in a group, it builds motivation and pushes you to do it in a much better way as well. Another interesting thing that you can also do, and which I think a lot of people have been doing, especially during the pandemic, is to use the digital devices and screens for positive activities as well. Something that we have been recently researching and working on is how digital habits can be used to promote positive mental health. And one of the powerful things that came out was that using digital screens for positive activities, such as simple things like connecting with your friends, connecting with your families, doing things that you like, taking yoga classes or your gym sessions online, learning your hobbies, or continuing to go to your routine hobbies or routine classes that you go for online, and any element of positivity which may add for you, if that's done online, that does promote for positive mental health as well. Another very simple and fundamental thing that we all can do is that we can use our device options very well, switching from day mode to night mode, to adjusting the brightness of the phone. Screen reports, I've already spoken of that, how you can generate screen time reports and keep a tab on your apps. So this way you can use your smartphones and screens better so that you're able to monitor the overall digital time you spend on your digital devices. Another very important thing is to go the old school way. Challenge yourself or challenge, among your friends, if you would like to do some acting. That I often do is that if I'm going to a place which I may not relatively know very well about, but I try to figure out the road by maybe asking people or asking, like fruiterers or vegetable vendors who are sitting there, and not constantly always going back to my device and rely on it. Similarly, you can take some things, some activities, whatever it could be. It could simply be that, okay, I'm going to get off Kindle for 10 days and maybe just take to reading physical books. Or GPS is one of the options. Another thing is that if some of you all also practice, some sort of dance, yoga, exercise, try to also do it, sometimes on your own without the screen as well. So take any activity that you would like to take, which you can do offline without the screen as well. A very, very important aspect, especially during the pandemic, where people have constantly, sat for extra number of hours working or attending school or finishing assignments, is to ensure engage in some sort of physical activity when you are sitting in front of your screens. If you are working, and if you know that, some people do not have the flexible option of just getting up or taking a break whenever they want, but they have to log in for some sort of work. Even if they have to sometimes, even if they have a flexible schedule, sometimes maybe if you were working for 6, 7, or 8 hours before, you probably were working for 10, 11, or 12 hours during the pandemic. Very important is that do your little bit of stretch of the hands, of the legs, move and twist your back a little bit, so that some amount of physical activity is there. Even if it means you have to quickly just get up for a minute, bend, stretch, and then sit back again. These are very important things to ensure that your physiological and physical health is being maintained. Some other simple things that you can do to maintain your physical well-being is also that make sure that at least in every half an hour to 45 minutes, or at least once in an hour, if you're sitting for prolonged hours in front of your screens, you are getting up, splashing water in your eyes, allowing your eyes to rest for 5 minutes. Wherever you may be sitting, just go back, allow your back, neck to rest, close your eyes. Intermittently, you could also just take the furthest thing possible and just be there without occupying anything, and allow your eyes to just get off the screen in some manner. You can also, if possible, just get up, go for a quick walk, and come back as well. Very important and a very interesting aspect of maintaining and monitoring digital time and rational digital use is to also bring it in conversations with your friends. If you meet them digitally or offline, if you physically also meet with them, make sure that it's a part of your conversation, because that reinforces that it's an important aspect that you are working on as a person and with your family or with your friends as well. Lastly, one of the things that I would like to emphasize upon is that please make sure that you also find time to connect with nature. When we often speak of increased internet and digital use, we often also speak of that how our generations are now becoming nature deficient. This was a concept which I think was introduced back in 2005, where I'm forgetting the name of the author, but he wrote a book where he introduced the concept of nature deficit disorder. And that is something that a lot of millennials, a lot of younger generation, the I generation today is also missing. And what is interesting to also note is that many youngsters and many children actually take to screen time because they don't have the option of going out. Well, of course, it's considered an obvious and inevitable during the times of pandemic. But as and when the unlock happens and life resumes to normalcy, it's important to remember and remind ourselves to go out for a walk, to be in touch with nature in some form or the other. This is one experience that most people do find a well enough connection with. No matter if it's a garden, if it's a beach, if it simply just means to stand at your window and get some sun as well. This is something that you can do presently in the present times of remaining at your homes as well. So make sure that you do get your little bit of nature protein so that you have this intact. And I emphasize this more on because oftentimes this is something that is not taken very seriously, because we all sort of don't have as much regard for the vitamin D that we get so much in abundance, but we realize that it is so much more important, and it's only when we don't have it we realize that it's just the vitamin D that makes such a huge difference, not just in our physical health but also reflects a lot on our mental health as well. So with this, I conclude today's workshop, today's session, and I hope you all have had some points to take away from today's session. I'll be happy to take questions if there are any. I see there are quite a lot of comments here.
Pragya,
Brinda or Ihita, if one of you is around, I would like if you could maybe help me go through and fill questions to address.
sure. I'll do that. But before I go move ahead, I just wanted to ask you, because since there are a lot of questions and we're running short of time, can we go ahead and share your email ID with them so that they can ask you those questions directly, or we could also compile the questions and send it to you and you could answer, because there are a lot of questions, as you can see. So we'll just pick one or two maybe, and the
Certainly.
rest via email is okay with you?
Certainly.
Great. So I have a question here from Dr.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So I have a question here from Dr. Abhishek Bhatia. The question is, eating disorders and body image perceptions are getting influenced by the internet. How does one inculcate a positive body image and eating pattern in adolescence? Pragya, could you
Yes,
hear me here? Okay.
this is something that's it starts with simple awareness and accessing. Sorry, Brinda, should I go ahead?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. With regard to building positive body image, like I said, that it is something that starts right at home with the conversation with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends. And it usually happens. I mean, something that it very negatively influences us, because I know there are a couple of very famous social media apps that very wrongly promote body image issues, especially in adolescents. And there is a lot of pro anorexia and pro bulimic behaviors that have come out. This has to be tackled with the right and responsible access to information, which can begin at home. Simply talking about it, simply letting the adolescent address issues and helping them understand responsible ways of acting and eating both. In most cases, a lot of parents do prefer to, just have a quick chat or a quick session with mental health professionals as well, because that's where one can get responsible information. Most often through such webinars, through such sessions, people do get information. It slightly does get conflicting, because information on the internet is so vast and diverse that misleading is something which cannot be helped, but it does happen. So access to right information and, trying and expanding the conversation as much as you can just helps. So even taking individual responsibility to talk about such issues in our friend circles, with parents, and wherever needed, can also be very helpful, and probably also leaving people with some reliable websites to read, such as CDC, WHO, UNICEF. These are the most commonly accessed websites that can be taken to and read about. Even the APA website is very reliable to read information on.
Great. Thank you. We'll take one more question. This is by Gautam. So his question is, with increase in online gaming and use of social media after ban on PUBG and TikTok, we saw people committing suicide. So what are your views and thoughts on this?
Yeah. Well, I think uh, the rate of sort of that, because a lot of people also sort of earn their bread and butter out of it. Unfortunately, the use of internet, which pathological, which we often refer to as internet addiction, is very, very commonly also coexisting with psychological disorders. Now, when we look at studies, and I mean, even in our practice, when we see patients in clinic and hospital, we do see that a lot of people who do have PUBG addiction, who have had rather PUBG addiction or any sort of internet addiction, they often have depression, anxiety, along with, in some cases, it is also severe and clinical. So, suicidal tendencies are very commonly linked with psychiatric disorders, and internet addiction is, of course, another element that gets added into. So, there are two factors over here. That one is that a lot of people actually lost their bread, butter, and their lifeline, which was through these social media apps, and another that also exists in such individuals, which often either goes unaddressed or it gets extremely heightened because of the stress of not having access to the social media.
Great. We'll actually just take one more question, and I'm really sorry. There are a lot of questions, but we are short of time. So we'll just take one more and then close this out. Ravi has a question. How can we protect our kids from addiction to internet as it causes stress, etc. in our kids? Because right now, today, considering the COVID pandemic, everybody is online. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, one of the thing is that for children, it's very helpful when family rules and family pledges are, sort of brought in. So when the entire family decides to, take digital free time, then it's more conducive for the child to be engaged in. Because, if the child is going to see the mom or the father using the phone, he's obviously going to come and argue that, okay, if you're using it, then why am I not allowed to use it? Another thing also is that as family, it's important, especially I think during COVID, a lot of families have spent time with their children, going back to board games, playing cricket, or doing some sort of, activity together. So the family to come together with the child to also play with physical toys, board games, other things are a good motivator for the child to leave the digital device as well. So both the things have to come together. If it's a child, the child has to be kept engaged, because of course the child has a lot of like energy. They are wanting to do something or the other. They're general physiologically, they will want to sort of engage in some activity or the other. So if you engage with them, if you sort of encourage them to play with you play with them, it sort of also builds that bond with the child. And again, the last thing that you can do is to also regulate the time on computers or on smartphones as well. If the child has, say suppose, spent anywhere between 2 to 4 hours for school, then make sure that there is at least a 1.5 hour gap before the child takes to the phone for using it for any sort of playing or video games or anything like that. If in your area, if in your city, it's more conducive to actually take the child, go to the garden, go for a small walk, or go to the terrace, try doing that as well. So regulating time along with filling the time with more physical activities and play, along with taking family digital detox time, are some helpful ways to help the child get off the screen.
Right. Thank you so much, Pragya, for sharing your responses. I mean, there are a couple more questions. Please stick around if you can to answer them, or we'll send them by email. Thank you so much for giving us all the insights that you did with respect to digital well-being. I think it's very important at this point of time, considering the pandemic, everything's being shifted online. Thank you for so much for taking our time and addressing the Youth IGF India Forum. And we hope to see you next year as well.